Alright guys, we're back. This is Steins Gate. I would say one of the greatest light novels or animes that I could think of. Funny story with the last video, I was so convinced that I was recording and forgot to check if the mic was on. Well, on. And as it turns out, it wasn't, so here we are. I'm a big fan of Steins Gate. One of my favorite animes of the early 2010s. Definitely very unique, and this is my first time playing this game. I know it's going to play out like a visual novel. A lot of reading to be done, so I'll do a couple of those things here and there. But I'm a huge fan of their opening sequence. I'd say their sequence sets the tone of the whole, of the whole experience. So we'll skip past this because you saw that in the first video, and we'll load from where we began. There we go. I believe, I forget her name, but she showed up. Let me see if I can change the configurations real quick. I think we're all ready to go. Hopefully this is loud enough. You guys can hear me, but without further ado, now I was commenting on the fact that the girl that just showed up from the Brain Tech University, well, we all thought she was 12, and I was commenting that a lot of people who graduated were 16, 17. So I wasn't surprised, but ended up being that she was 21. It was all I could do to keep myself from screaming. I remember her getting killed in the first. Calm down. This is the beta world line. Mayuri is alive. Yeah. She was in some way, shape, or form related to the time travel police or something like that. Moika's not going to kill her. Moika. Is that Deru's daughter? Oh, this is Moika, I'm sorry. It's not gonna kill Kurisu. Our eyes met. The eyes on the other side of her glasses were as dead as ever, and it was impossible to tell what she was thinking. I frantically averted my gaze before she realized something was wrong. She tilted her head for a second, but quickly lost interest in me and turned toward Maho. I remember she would never speak, she would only text. Oh, never mind.
雑誌社の方でしたよね。お約束通り主催を。
She barely talks. Yeah.
レスキネン教授はまだなんです。少しお待たせしてしまいますけど。はい。それまで私でよければシステムの概要でもお願いします。
お願いします。The two of them disappeared into the staff room. As I watched them leave, I took a deep breath. I tried to calm down, but it wasn't working.
桐生萌か。
桐生萌か。
もしかして。
もしかして。
またお前なのか。
Yeah, is she gonna be the one to kill Karisu again? It was a terrible feeling, like a cold finger tracing the wounds in my heart. Oof. Poor guy. That night when the terrorists shut down all the trains in Akibara. That awful night when I just knew something was going to happen.
ここでもまた。
Gonna do it again here. I guess she was more than what we thought she was. Or was I just imagining things? Was she just a magazine reporter now instead of a CERN rounder? CERN rounder. Time police? No, even if Moeka was a rounder, we had nothing to do with CERN anymore. CERN wouldn't be watching us. Took another deep breath, grabbed some of my anxiety meds in my pocket, and swallowed them down with some mineral water I had bought ahead of time. It would take 15 minutes for them to kick in. Those 15 minutes were always pretty rough. I laughed at myself a little and sat down on one of the reception desk chairs. The table was filled with leaflets. Daru Lukaku Suzuha Faris Yuki Amane. Tuturu Okarin. Are things going okay with Mr. Seminar? Let's see. There was a little accident. The table was filled with leaflets, pamphlets, and other things for attendees. I almost ran into somebody I really would rather avoid. You okay? If you're having a hard time, I think it would be okay to leave halfway through. I can't do that. I'm alright for now, thanks. What the fuck? Haha, that's awesome. The table was filled with leaflets, pamphlets, and other things for the attendees. My eyes wandered to one of the pamphlets. Nakabachi theory and the genealogy of pseudoscience. Wonder what that is. This pamphlet was for Professor Izaki's seminar. Nakabachi theory. The paper he had announced in Russia. That paper held the key to creating a real-time machine. Oh shit. On that day, July 28th, Nakabachi had stolen the paper from Kurisu, his own daughter, and left with it. What the fuck? I knew that. Only Nakabachi and I knew that. I flipped through the pamphlet. It was a brief introduction to the many forms of pseudoscience and fake scientific discoveries that had emerged since the start of the 20th century. On its own, it did make for interesting reading. And at the end of the pamphlet, Nakabachi theory was introduced as nothing more than another entry in the long list of fakes. So Dr. Nakabachi's time machine theory had been completely ignored by the academic world. All the glory, fame, and power he'd wanted so badly that he was willing to get rid of his own daughter. He didn't get any of it. And I'd heard rumors that after the announcement he'd been imprisoned in a Russian lab. To make it even funnier, he thought he was getting VIP treatment. For a short time, there were essays and interviews in bogus academic journals, and even there it was obvious it had all gone to his head. The ironic thing was that Nakabachi theory was completely correct and completely revolutionary. I'm really digging this. The Russian government was worried about it leaking, and the SVR was doing everything it could to keep it under wraps. But under the surface, there was a full-scale information war beginning over the paper. The time traveler from 2036, John Titor, had told me so, which meant that had to be true. Now, why does that name sound so familiar? Was World War III really going to happen? There was no point in thinking about it. Just a little more before the drugs kicked in. I closed my eyes. Several hours later. Why is he not moving from that same position? The convention was going well. After Professor Izaki's seminar, most of the students from the university, or from my university, went home. But I killed some time and came back. I wanted to hear the Victor Chondria lecture. I also commented in the last video about the Victor Chondria name. It's kind of interesting. You know, you got Victor, which I would say is a Russian name, Chondria, which could be an Indian name like Chandra, which means moon, or it could be just taken from mitochondria. So Victor Chondria lecture. I don't know which one's which. I headed to the hall with plenty of time to spare and saw Maho Hiyajo coming from the staff room. Now Maho just seems to me like a magician. She was with a very tall foreigner, Gaijin. Was that Alexis Leskinen? It didn't seem like an American name, but maybe he was an immigrant like Kurisu, or at least descended from one. I didn't mean to eavesdrop, but the looks on their faces were so serious that I couldn't help but listen. Since they were both speaking in English, I could barely make out any of it. Come on, Rentaro, you speak better English than anybody. I'm a mad scientist, son of a bitch. But I could tell from their voices that it wasn't a pleasant chat. Wait, did I just hear the word makise? I hated the fact that I couldn't speak English. If I had known this was going to happen, I would have gone to an English school. The two of them walked into the waiting room for lecturers. It was located right next to the UPX theater. I put together the few fragments I was able to understand. Fire at Kurisu's house. Mrs. Makise is alright. Robbery. The police called off the investigation. Why was the FBI there? Really, would the FBI go to... I guess her house would be in the US. Why was the FBI there? It doesn't make sense. I think that's what they were saying. Kurisu's house? Do they mean where she lived in America? Her mother should still live in America. Is that where the fire was? And then words like robbery and the investigation was called off. I really wanted to know more. I stood there and worried until it was time for the lecture to begin. With nothing else to do, I went inside the theater. I could tell earlier by looking at the size of the crowds going inside, but it was a very high energy crowd. Energy. The atmosphere was clearly different than Izaki's seminar, which was mostly students there for credit. The place was nearly full with a crowd of scientists and people who wanted to learn about cutting-edge technology. Victor Chondria's researchers had published a state of papers in Science recently and had gotten a lot of media attention. Maybe that was why. Were there any open seats? I found a single open seat at the edge. But when I looked at who was sitting next to it, I moaned. There's only one person. Yeah, Moeka. You again. Moika Kiryu was there. She was speaking to no one, just typing endlessly into her phone. I'd once named her a Shining Finger because of her incredible typing speed, and she was as fast as ever. Who was she talking to? I didn't want to imagine. I quickly turned away and looked for another seat. Dr. Leskinen reached the podium almost the exact instant I sat down. There was a huge wave of applause, but when they saw the tiny little girl up next to him, the applause faded into confused murmurs. Maho must have expected this. Her expression didn't change in the slightest as she stood next to the professor. In fact, when she took the microphone from the professor and looked around the theater, she looked like she belonged there.
Ladies and gentlemen.
I can tell that the accent is still there. First, Dr. Leskinen began to speak in English. When he made eye contact with Maho, she began to interpret.
Thank you for attending.
皆さん、本日は私のセミナーに集まってくださって感謝します。
Okay.
I am Alexis Leskinen
ビクトル・コンドリア大学脳科学研究所のアレクシス・レスキネンです。専門は脳信号処理システムおよび人工知能理論
I
にな
heard
り
that
ます。
intelligence. Yeah, okay, again, this is from the last video where I forgot to turn my microphone on, but I always have an issue with the fact that Japanese studios never hire native English speakers, even when they're representing them. It's always people from Japan speaking. It's not, and I would be okay with it if they had a passable impression, or accent. But they either don't want to branch out and bring somebody in because it'll be too expensive, or maybe it'll be too much of a bother to have somebody from a different culture amongst them, or they're just convinced that their main audience, which is the Japanese people, would find it passable anyway. They wouldn't be able to tell any different from a native speaker and a Japanese impression. I just feel that the Japanese, being probably the third or the second most prosperous nation in the world, should branch out and get somebody who can authentically speak good English, just make it passable, because their genre of anime and games is no longer just a national delight, it's international. We all play it. I'm playing it right now. Heck, I'm reading this in English, though they know there's a market outside.
そして私は助手の比谷城真帆です。同じく脳科学研究所で教授の指導に沿って研究をしています。よろしく。
Yoroshiku. The audience started murmuring again. That was the same way I responded when I met her. Well, that'll happen, yeah.
では早速ですが、私たちの最先端研究の一端をご紹介します。
The L's and R's. I really want to understand more about why that struggle exists, but I think it has to do with the fact that their language doesn't have the L. The closest thing that their tongue is used to is an R. I'd like to get right into it by introducing some of the cutting-edge research.
テーマは人工知能革命としましたが、これからデモンストレーションするシステムはおそらく皆さんの想像を超えたものではないかと思っています。このパソコンですが、研究所のスーパーコンピューターの一つと接続されています。ああ、まだプロジェクターには映さないで。すみません、まだ開発途中なんです。非常に美的センスのないプログラムが画面いっぱいにあふれ返っています。
Yeah, that's my only complaint, man. Just bring a English speaker. There are many people obsessed with Japan who would love to voice act for you. There are many people right now in Japan. They were there in the past as well. Bring any one of those. Get quality.
Honestly,
こんなチープなプログラムを見られるのは恥ずかしい。裸を見られるよりもね。
Ha 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 ha. Enough about that. Everything else is absolutely breathtaking with most games that I see and everything else. It's very different from what you would imagine. Just a little critique that I have. I just wish they would bring actual or English speakers. Bring somebody from Korea, you know. There are many good speakers from Korea that I've run into. With all due respect is what I'm saying. The quality of these games is always sky high, and just hearing, you know, broken English is slightly off-putting. Especially when I know they have the resources to get the right person. I don't know what it is, arrogance or just not caring about the issue. I'd rather let you see me naked than let you see these lousy programs.
この中にエンジニアの方がいるなら理解していただけますよね。
Sure.
起動するまでの間、このシステム全体の概略を説明しましょう。サイエンス誌に掲載されたのでご存知の方もいるでしょう。これは私たちのチームにいた天才的な日本人研究者によって提唱され完成されたものです。人間の記憶は大脳皮質、とりわけ側頭葉に記録されます。いわゆるフラッシュメモリみたいなもの。そのメモリに記憶を書き込んだり読み出したりするのが側頭葉にある海馬傍回という部位になります。脳はニューロンと呼ばれる細胞の間を電気信号が伝わっていくことで働いています。記憶というのも実はこういった電気信号の伝わりの一つなのです。その働きを制御しているのが海馬傍回と言ってもいいでしょう。つまり電気信号が海馬傍回を出入りすることで記憶は作られていくんですね。そこでマキセ・クリスはこの論文を書いた日本人研究者です。マキセ研究員は考えました。海馬傍回を通る電気信号が電気信号のパターンと大脳皮質の
She's struggling. Why is she struggling? Because I guess he's going off script.
すみません。マキセ研究員は海馬傍回を出入りする電気信号のパターンに着目しました。そのパターンが大脳皮質のどの記憶と対応しているのか解析を行って完全なデータを得たのです。
This data allows her to take
こ
the
れによって
camera's memory signal
記憶
and
という曖昧でアナログなものを
convert them into a digital combination of
電気信号のパターンの組み合わせというデジタルなものに変換する基礎理論が確立されたのです。これがサイエンス誌に掲載された彼女の論文です。
They love mentioning the fact that it appeared in Science to add credibility, I guess.
そして現在、私たちのチームはその理論をもとに人間の記憶をデジタルデータとして取得するシステムを開発しています。
A wave of whispers swept across the theater.
それはすなわち、人間の記憶をコンピューターに保存し、それを活用するシステムということになります。
So she's dead?
現在、私たちが行っているプロジェクトは主に2つです。1つは医療分野への応用です。こちらは精神生理学研究所と共同で行っているプロジェクトです。コンピューターに保存した記憶データを海馬傍回を通して再び元の脳に書き戻すというもので、
Incredible!
You don't believe it? I know how you feel.
信じがた
I'd
い
be thinking
で
the
す
same
か。
thing if I were you.
その気持ちは理解できます。
He sounds like a fucking
私も
robot.
皆さんの立場であればそう言ったでしょう。
But let me just ask you.
しかし
Can you imagine
この研究に私たちは手応えを感じています。これが実用化できればどんなに素晴らしいことでしょう。
We could treat memory loss in
例えば
elderly or
老化による記憶障害、
that currently have
あと
matured.
はアルツハイマーなどそうしたものへの対処療法が期待できます。
Anyone's memories could be
患者の記憶をデータとして
as digital
自
data.
動的にバックアップしていくのです。
Even if a memory is lost,
記憶が失われ
every
たと
time
しても
it's possible to
その都度
access
PC に
a
アクセスし
and reinstall data in the
脳内
brain.
にデータを再インストールすることが可能です。
You make memories sound concrete. Memories can be fake as well. I feel this would be more useful for the police enforcement or justice department trying to figure out who's a criminal and who isn't. Then there's the fact that if you give a memory back to somebody thinking it's theirs, it might be altered, it might be different, might make him a different person, but I guess its face value is still very useful. This sounds like it'd be more useful to Defense Department.
We could halt the progress of
そ
senility
れによ
and
って
dementia.
忘
That's the
却
sort
の
of
進
thing
行
we
を食い
believe
止
this
められる
research
のでは
can
ないか。
accomplish.
私たちはそう考えています。
Eventually, it would be
最
possible
終
to
的に
directly
は
and continuously
海馬傍
access
回から
data stored on the
PC 内の
computer
記憶データに
to the
常時
computer
アクセスできるようになるでしょう。
Alright, we're on the 29-minute mark. We're gonna keep going with this. I definitely enjoy this game a lot. Yeah. Hopefully the next part will be uploaded tomorrow. Thank you so much for tuning in, guys. I'll catch you later. Bye-bye.